Hello friends! California has slowly begun reopening for business, but suffice to say that until we're at phase 3, many of you still won't be going out to your favorite places much. So why not just sit in with us and watch some Halloween episodes of your favorite shows? There is one cartoon that we can always count on for a Halloween special every year, and surprisingly it's not a horror show. It's perhaps the most successful American sitcom, The Simpsons. Every year since 1990, this animated comedy has presented a Halloween special called Treehouse of Horror, an anthology episode featuring 3 short stories starring the residents of Springfield. Much like the regular episodes, some are great and some are not. But which ones are the best? Well, we looked at all 30 specials and narrowed it down to what we at Halloween Central consider the best of the bunch. Here is the list of the top 10 Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. Number 10, Treehouse of Horror 9. The stories here featured the hair of a criminal possessing Homer, Bart and Lisa trapped in a deadly cartoon, and Maggie being the bastard child of Kang the alien. The first story is probably the best one, but the other two are decent in their ridiculousness. Probably the main thing I could say about this one is that it's chaotic with some decent jokes. It's like the whole episode is a Jerry Springer show. Number 9, Treehouse of Horror 12. Here we get a gypsy curse on Homer, a futuristic smart house voiced by Pierce Brosnan, and simply put, a very on-the-nose Harry Potter parody. This is a good mix of stories with a pretty balanced batch of quality. Pierce Brosnan actually does lend his voice to the story, and he's actually pretty funny in it.
No, I'm asking.
Not a very good one?
Damn straight.
As for the other 2 stories, Harry Potter parody is better than the gypsy one, but they share a common theme of revenge and magic with hilarious outcomes and brilliant one-liners.
Wake up, you lousy drunk!
Number 8, Treehouse of Horror 20. Our stories here are a spoof of Alfred Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder, a spoof of 28 Days Later, and a fourth wall-breaking musical play. Now, the play story is a pretty weak entry, but the other 2 stories more than make up for it. Dial M for Murder is a fantastic tribute to Hitchcock as a whole. The title references Dial M for Murder, while the concept is more like another Hitchcock film, Strangers on a Train, as Bart and Lisa exchange getting revenge on their teachers. But Lisa doesn't understand Bart's meaning.
You should have seen the look on Krabappel's face.
And you should have seen the look on Hoover's face. In fact, here it is.
The whole episode is in black and white, and the music is similar to music used in Hitchcock's movies. My favorite story, though, is the one with the fast zombies. It's actually kind of scary to put the Simpsons in this kind of zombie apocalypse, but it's still funny, almost in an Evil Dead sort of way.
To the panic room!
We don't have a panic room.
To the panic room store!
Number 7, Treehouse of Horror 19. A Transformers parody set at Christmas time, Homer becoming a celebrity assassin, and a spoof of It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. The Transformers one goes pretty fast, but it manages to squeeze in some great scenes too.
What? Stop it! Look, you have made the nacho machine cry.
The celebrity one is funny in how it basically makes rich ad men look like greedy assholes. More of its humor honestly comes from its dialogue, and that's never a bad thing. The best part is the Charlie Brown spoof. Some more sensitive people might get mad and say that The Simpsons trash a Halloween children's classic, but this is actually a really good tribute. The backgrounds are even drawn the same way as Great Pumpkin. It kind of presents a scenario of, what if the Great Pumpkin was real?
Uh-oh.
Revenge!
Yeah, probably that. Number 6, Treehouse of Horror 4. It's where Homer sells his soul for a donut, the school bus is attacked by a gremlin, and Mr. Burns is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Each one of these stories is a great blend of twists, turns, frights, and jokes. The first one presents a great twist quickly with Flanders as the devil. From there we get a funny courtroom drama with a hell twist. The school bus one has some pretty good tension with the gremlin that only Bart sees. While we see Bart try to take on the gremlin on his own, there's some good jokes mixed in at the right times. The vampire one is the best. It's a classic spooky story that checks many boxes of stereotypical vampire movies. Haunted castle, fangs, Smithers as a zombie, and a great twist at the end.
Wait a minute! You are a vampire! Quick! We have to kill the boy!
How'd you know he's a vampire?
He's a vampire? Ah!
Number 5, Treehouse of Horror 5. We start off with The Shining, then Homer's time travel journey, then finally a school where teachers cook and eat students who get detention. I love how the first story is very direct at spoofing this classic horror film, but the characters still act like they're afraid of a copyright lawsuit.
Boy, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
The time travel one is loaded with absurd fun. Homer goes back to the time of the dinosaurs a dozen times and always does something that changes his present drastically. It's an excuse for The Simpsons to try a bunch of alternate realities, but it's a lot of fun to watch. The last one is actually pretty scary. We're watching the future slowly make cooking kids the norm and seeing what the Simpsons kids will do to save themselves. Oh, and also this episode has this fantastic running joke at Willie's expense.
Is that the best you can do? Ah! Ow! Ugh, I'm bad at this.
Number 4, Treehouse of Horror 10. This is probably the most 90s episode out of all of them. A spoof of I Know What You Did Last Summer, a superhero story featuring Xena, and a story that plays on the Y2K scare that many folks had in 1999. It should come as no surprise that Lucy Lawless herself actually voices her animated self, but I'm surprised she stuck with her fake American accent that doesn't go into her native New Zealander accent.
Wait, her what accent?
Yes, spoiler alert to anyone who didn't know, Xena is from New Zealand. This episode is full of pop culture references that satirize and pay tribute to 90s pop culture, so in that way it feels more nostalgic than some of the even older episodes. Number 3, Treehouse of Horror 8. 2 of these stories are perfectly themed for Halloween, while the middle story is a so-so parody of The Fly. The Fly one at least has great jokes surrounding a matter transporter, but I love the first and third stories. First, Homer becomes the last man alive in Springfield after it gets nuked, but it turns out a lot of the survivors mutated into skin-eating ghouls. They even get a zombie car that would later be featured in the Simpsons Hit and Run video game. The last story is set in Salem, Massachusetts during the infamous witch trials. Except this time there are 3 real witches who inadvertently invent trick-or-treating. I mean, trick-or-treating was originally invented to keep evil creatures away from your house, so it actually pays tribute to actual Halloween origins. Very clever, Matt Groening.
It's graining.
Are you sure?
No.
Number 2, Treehouse of Horror 3. This episode has a Halloween party as a wraparound segment to introduce each story. It's something that future specials frequently skipped over. But it's not just the wraparound story that makes this episode so good, it's the stories themselves. First we get a story of a killer Krusty doll, and who doesn't love a good haunted doll story? Next is a spoof of King Kong that brilliantly makes fun of the original 1930s classic. The crown jewel of this episode is when Bart accidentally summons an army of old-school Romero-style zombies. It's a great horror comedy story. Saving the best for last is always a good move in anthology.
Take me, take me. Rains!
Finally, number 1, Treehouse of Horror 1. After everything, I couldn't give the number 1 spot to any episode other than the one that began this beloved tradition. The very reason why it's called Treehouse of Horror. We see Bart and Lisa swap horror stories that star their family. A haunted house story, a story that introduces us to the one-eyed aliens, and a reenactment of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. They're funny episodes for sure, but they lean more to the eerie, creepy side, and it's done so well. The music is really creepy, and the sequences can actually be pretty suspenseful at times, at least for a comedy. The Raven is an amazing tribute to Poe's original work, and the best part is that it's narrated by James Earl Jones, Darth Vader himself!
Ah, distinctly I remember. It was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor.
You don't know the power of The Simpsons. Without a doubt, no episode of Treehouse of Horror does Halloween better than the first one. So what's your favorite Treehouse of Horror story? Let us know in the comments. You can watch every episode of The Simpsons now on Disney Plus? Ugh. If you're a real Simpsons fan, you know exactly why Disney is the last company that should have any ownership of The Simpsons.
I'm the mascot of an evil corporation.
Well, anyways, if you liked this video, then check out our review of the Halloween episodes of Home Improvement, or check out one of our blogs of Universal Studios Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights. Goodbye, friends!